We're here in the Zona del Silencio. It's Agent Ryan.
This is Agent Drea Mora.
Hey, Agent Mora. Yes, we're back again after a very eventful, and I'm going to say really fun Cinco de Mayo with the ZDS crew. Would you agree, Mora?
From what I remember, it was fantastic. Things got fuzzy towards the end, which is, I expect that to happen. But I had a great time.
Yeah, all the guys and gals there, a lot of fun. And I didn't know our boss Issa was also a DJ. That was incredible watching him go off.
You didn't know that? I knew that. I'm not kissing up. I knew that.
Okay, well, good for you. And I'm also going to say I was wrong about bringing that wounded two-headed baby sheep back to the party. Turns out was the hit of the party.
Yeah, they like people.
And it is kind of cute. And it, I don't know. It looks like they're going to let you keep her. I don't know if you're going to name this thing, but you are allowed to keep it now.
Yeah, no, I'm of course, I give things names immediately. So I've already named it Rhonda Yolanda. Rhonda is the one on the left. You'd think it'd be the one on the right, but it's their right. So stage right?
Okay, so...
It's Rhonda and Yolanda. Because they have personalities, their own.
Well, look, I still stand by the statement as a bad idea, but I'm going to admit I am starting to warm up. They are very cute, and now that they have names... Oh, okay.
How can you not love them?
I guess not. But we have another exciting case for today. But before that, you know what time it is, right, Mora?
Yeah, it's time for our notes. And I'm nervous this time because I don't know what I did at that party.
For Agent Mora, as a level 2 weapons access shooter, you were correct to inform Agent Ryan that he is not yet authorized to modify weapons as he sees fit. Agent Ryan has now been fitted with his original unaltered blaster. All right, well...
There we go. Good. I feel safer around you now.
Look, I'm just trying to be productive. I'm thinking they want me doing stuff out here. All right,
You're
fine.
being proactive. Yeah. It's a little dangerous. But I mean, look, I'm sure you're going to find some way to make a really cool slingshot or something in the future. They'll let you have that.
I'll just stick with the thing until I'm not going to mess around too much anymore. We got one more for Agent Mora. Your quick thinking and bravery in rescuing the injured two-headed sheep juvenile from Agent Ryan's trap is commendable. This may provide valuable research opportunities for our work in the zona. While the violent three-headed sheep variant are quite common here, this particular entity is quite an anomaly. More study must be done. The creature will be left in your care for the time being, provided you complete the mandatory 2-hour mutated animal husbandry seminar, the Zona del Compasión.
All right, that sounds good. That sounds like I actually would enjoy it.
Yeah, finally you get to take a class. I've been through a couple of them. They do have treats and stuff. It's nice.
Oh, good. Some refreshments. They have snacks.
They do. They always do. I'm not going to promise churros. So let's get to my notes here. We have for Agent Ryan. Your unauthorized use of modified weapons has been addressed already. We do commend you for proper protocol in dealing with the deformed humanoid threat during Agent Mora's rescue of the juvenile sheep. And for your actions, you have been rewarded this coupon for a free medium smoothie from Zona del Churros. Congratulations.
Sweet.
I finally got some. That's cool. Did you know that they sold smoothies there now? I've had them before. They're good.
I saw them, but I didn't know what flavors they were. And
They have 3 flavors now. They have strawberry, they have banana, and they have something called Zona Berry.
Zona Berry?
Yeah, I had the Zona Berry. It's good. It's like fruity with like a kind of a fermented taste. Like it's got alcohol in it.
I was actually going to ask if you felt funny afterwards because I wouldn't trust many of the fruits or berries out here.
Yeah, I think it is berries that they just find out here. I have no idea.
Well, hey, that sounds like it's got an extra bonus. It costs the same as the other smoothies?
Yeah. You don't have to pay extra for that.
Oh, okay, that's good. So obviously I would get that same flavor because I don't think strawberry is going to get you smoothie buzz.
No, and the kid out here, good Zona Berry blast. That's what you need. And I got one more for me. Agent Ryan, your application for a guest pass has been authorized, and your guest research consultant will be arriving shortly. Ooh. All right. A new face to assist in our research.
I didn't know you were applying for a visitor.
That is always good, and I think they're on their way now. Wait, is that a carriage? Sad clowns?
I can see. They do look pretty sad. How many guest passes did you get?
Hello, Willow Truman. Welcome to the Zona del Silencio.
Oh my
Hello.
God.
Are you okay?
It's been a long ride here. These clowns are fucking this up.
A lot of dust.
I
they're
really
kicking
need
up.
to refill on gas. They've been dragging their asses. I don't know if you guys know any pawn shops around here.
No, we don't have
No, I don't
anything
know
like
of
that
any. There's a
here.
consignment shop.
Okay, well, all they eat is pawned wedding rings. So I'm not sure how I'm going to get home, but we'll figure it out.
Well, I mean, stranger things have landed here before, for sure. And
That's
Yeah,
true.
so I'll just park these guys.
all right, these guys are fine. Hey, yeah, and unfortunately, I guess I should
Need
say
some
today
water.
I've never been in this area. It's very quiet, but it's very hilly, this area of the Zona. And watching these sad clowns drag up that hill just now, I do feel bad for these guys.
Yeah. Do they need some water? I'm not even going to ask.
They
if
don't
need it.
deserve it. They don't deserve it.
Well,
They have their own sweat.
Yeah, I will say it is beautiful here. Thank you. Thank you for having me and my posse.
thank you for coming. Yeah, Willow, you and I go way back. And like Agent Mora and I, you are also a researcher of the strange and unusual. And you even have a program called Nonsense Bazaar. It's a wonderful show. I'm a regular listener.
Why, thank you. Thank you.
Let's get in here. There is a note here for the three of us. There is a zone advisory from our associate Jamie. It says, agents and research consultants, be aware that today we are experiencing a high level of falling meteorite activity. Extreme caution should be taken. Okay, noted. Thank you, Jamie.
Do we have any like protective headgear?
You really? It's funny that you say that because I brought a top hat with me.
Oh, that's
I
good.
did notice that. Yeah, which
Yes.
is very fitting
Yes.
for this clown
And
carriage.
it's not a regular top hat either. You'll notice if you put your hand inside. Would one of you please?
Oh, Russ, I'm going to let you do that.
Oh, okay.
Agent
Here we
Ryan,
go.
you stick your hand into
all
things.
right.
You notice it? Any soft textures in there?
It's
Kind of
very
fuzzy, right?
It's kind of fuzzy in here, yes.
Right. You want to just grab that and lift it out?
Okay.
Would you look at that?
Oh, my
Very
God.
cute. All right.
Is
It's
it,
like a
I'm just like a
magician.
magician, aren't I? I brought a
That's-
rabbit in a hat,
That's super
endless
cute.
rabbits.
Endless rabbits.
I love it. And I was actually going to ask if this is the Zona we do usually come armed. Is this somehow, can you use this in any kind of way to maybe defend yourself while you're out here?
I'm optimistic.
Okay, look, I'll give you a little challenge here. You see that rock that's like really far away, the one that's jutting up there?
Yeah, I see it.
All right, let's see if you can, I don't know, maybe if you can tag that thing with one of these rabbits. Let's see. You ready?
God.
Do you have to say any kind of magic words or anything, or do you just do it?
Abracadabra. Sweet.
Well, the rabbit doesn't appear to be hurt.
Oh.
'Cause that's what I was worried about.
Hey, yeah, it is actually running back. Man, that
like
thing really goes
bouncy.
far. It goes
Super
far.
bouncy, like flutter.
Wow.
I really
Well,
like
how
that.
about that?
Incredible.
Are you guys impressed?
I am impressed, and I feel a lot more confident.
Yeah.
I've got
Maybe
this
we'll have
sharpshooter
some
here.
playmates for Rhonda Yolanda.
Yeah, Rhonda Yolanda should be fine today. And I gotta say, Willow, something I really enjoy about your show, The Nonsense Bazaar, is that before you and your co-host Sequoia, like before you guys disseminate that research, you pull a tarot card. And a lot of times it seems to match up with your topic of discussion. And so I was thinking about that, like right before Mora and we head out here. I look around the office, I'm like, there's gotta be a tarot deck lying around somewhere, something. I couldn't find one, but I did find this deck of Mexican loteria cards. So I was
I love
thinking,
this.
these are kind of like, what are these? More, these are like almost like bingo cards, right?
It's like bingo. Yeah.
So I've got this deck of these, and I don't know, what do you say? We pull a loteria. Am I saying it right? Loteria?
Loteria.
Loteria
It's like
cards.
lottery. Think of lottery.
Okay, so this is our
Let's
little
do
lottery.
it.
Let's see what we pull here on our journey for tonight, and it is La Campana, which is a bell.
Nice. I was hoping you'd pull El Borracho.
Nope, no El Baracho tonight. We're going with La Campana. I have no idea what that
A
means.
bell. Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. Okay. What do bells mean for you? Like usually an alert. You know, it could be some happy news. It signifies something, right? So it tells you what time it is. Sometimes.
Think of the church bells.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's so many things bells mean, and it could be scary though too. It's like for whom the bell tolls.
Mm.
Oh man, I don't know. I was gonna say like a 10 beller. It's like a 10, yeah, this is good.
Yeah. Let's stick with the happy ones. It's Quasimodo ringing the bell and something like that.
Sure.
I would rather not think about the death knells.
I don't know, bells, you know, put that thing sideways. It kind of looks like some weird metal ship. Maybe that's what it is. We'll see. There's been weirder stuff out there. Well,
Definitely.
Willow, I'm glad that you have this magical hat that can shoot things. You should have no problem holding your own out here. So let's get started with this week's case. Case Number 5, Mexico's Roswell Tomato Man alien. This is a perfect case for ZDS. We're back to aliens.
Hey.
Aliens
He's
right
like
here in our
Quasimodo.
backyard of Mexico.
Yeah.
Did you say what?
Tomato Quasimodo.
ZDS? Because it goes good with some ZD tomatoes.
Oh, ZD. Oh, clever. I never made that connection.
A little bit
I
of
love
wordplay there. How about
I like
that?
it. Making me hungry.
Too. So this is it. We're back to aliens, and the incident that we're discussing is called Mexico's Roswell. Thinking about when they call something a Roswell, I feel like there are a ton of countries that have their own Roswell. It's like how Gate is tacked on to every controversy since Watergate.
Yeah,
you can name like a million gates. Every alien crash is a Roswell. And I don't know, can you guys name any of the other Roswells? I'll start off like England, they got Rendlesham Forest. That's called the British Roswell, right?
Okay. Yeah. Virginia?
Yep, that's a Brazilian Roswell. They got a Canadian Roswell, the Shag Harbor.
I can't name one. Not one.
What about what country was it that the aerial school was in?
Zimbabwe.
I was just thinking about that too.
Yeah, Zimbabwe. That would be
That's what came to my mind, but it wasn't a crash, so I was like, does that apply?
True.
I don't know.
True.
Not all of them are the same. It's just if they have a fun
it's just
alien
an
event. Like that's just a Roswell.
Okay, so things where an actual like ship has crashed and then with or without bodies.
Retrieval and stuff like that. I guess you would consider a Roswell. But I guess Virginia kind of was that. They also consider Tunguska event in Russia. That's the Russian Roswell.
Okay, yeah. I remember that. I don't know as much about it, but yeah, I think that counts.
Yeah, we'll have to get to that. But we can all agree there are a lot of Roswells. But today, we're going to focus our research lasers on Mexico and July 7th, 1948, a year to the day after the original Roswell event, America's Roswell.
Wow. America's Roswell.
Maybe we should just start calling it America's Roswell.
Yeah. I like that. I'm going to keep doing that.
But this event, this is Mexico's Roswell. It is referred to as the Laredo, Texas UFO crash, the Aztec UFO. This is a shared Tex-Mex event. And this is how it played out. At least 2 U.S. military aircraft allegedly chased a 90-foot diameter silver disc-shaped UFO across Texas before watching the object crash approximately 30 miles southwest of Laredo, Texas, across the border in the Mexican state of Nuevo Leon. U.S. Secretary of State General George C. Marshall reportedly intervened directly with the Mexican government and obtained permission for U.S. Army personnel to recover the remains of a U.S., quote, special test vehicle that had gone out of control and crashed in Mexico. Colonel John W. Bowen, then Provost Marshal at Carswell Air Force Base, was sent over to take immediate charge of cordoning off and controlling the area. The bulk of the residue was picked up on Army transporter vehicles and delivered to San Antonio Air Depot for study. And this is it. This is just typical U.S. military response. They're always bossing Mexico around.
Yeah, typical freaking alien shenanigans that the U.S. military just thinks that they have the ultimate say and control in all of it. You know, what are you going to do? You can't. They're bullies. You're right.
And the same thing happened in the Zona del Silencio. There was a missile in the 70s that went off course.
True.
Landed here in the Zona, and the entire area was taken over. They even made that landing strip to, just to come and get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is a very disappointing trend. But, I mean, Mexico did allow them. They didn't have to, Who knows what would have happened to them if they didn't, but...
Exactly. It doesn't seem like it's a fair matchup when you think about it, if something lands there. But I don't know. Yeah, maybe Mexico just doesn't want to have anything to do with it.
True. I think maybe they were scared. So they're like, oh, good. Yeah, you go get the spider. You take care of it.
It was probably your spider anyway, right?
Yeah, Natasha.
If Mexico did that, if you just think about it the other way, if some weird missile landed in Texas and Mexico showed up and was like, no, don't worry, we got this one.
I know, right? That's why is it that we always kind of default to, the U.S. is here, like U.S. is like the dad of the world. Is like, no, I got this. Stand aside. I don't understand it.
It would be crazy if that actually happened, if somehow like a Mexican missile came in here. That was all you would hear about. It seems like it was just going to happen constantly out there. I was like, no, it's one of ours.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing too, is like how many more things and events do you think have actually taken place in Mexico that the U.S., didn't know about because we're not there? This was right on the border, so they, saw it.
It was, and they did chase it to this spot. And I should also mention, that a majority of the information about this case was initially disseminated by a fledgling UFO journal known as Marcen, or Marken, Marcen.
Yeah, I've heard it both ways.
This is a really difficult part of this research. I was trying to get to the bottom of what Markin was. Everything you read, this is the source of all this. Markin was the Mutual Anomaly Research Center and Evaluation Network. And it was a UFO investigation and research group founded in the 1970s by Willard F. McIntyre.
Willard McIntyre.
Push myself to say his name. Willow, say it with me. Willard.
Willard.
Not Willard.
Willard.
I thought we were going to say it together.
Yeah, all of us.
All
One,
of us.
Okay.
2, 3.
Willard.
F.
That feels
McIntyre.
Okay.
F. McIntyre.
Good job, guys.
Good. Yeah, that was great. We're already working together as a team. I love this.
Yeah.
So this group was also known as the Maryland Center for Investigation of Unconventional Phenomenon Incorporated, which is even a bigger mouthful than Mutual Anomaly Research Center and Evaluation Network. So they stuck with that one.
Yeah.
And this was a UFO journal/zine from the 1970s that you cannot find a lot of information about. I actually went and reached out to some top men in the UFO field. I reached out to Philip Mantle, the owner of Flying Disc Press. And he's also Calvin Parker's handler. He's published hundreds of books. He had not heard of this group at all, and he's been around for a long time. And I also reached out to Tim R. Swartz. And this is the guy who wrote the Jeff the Mongoose book.
Yes. Tim Swartz, big fan.
He did some digging for us, and he was able to track down a few issues of this journal from 1979. I got to ask, did either of you get to take a look at this Markin UFO journal?
I didn't get to go through the actual attachment, but I was looking at it, and it's just, I don't know, I probably focused on the wrong details, but I thought, like, graphic-wise, it looked really cool. Like, as a designer, I liked it.
Yes, I skimmed it.
I did too. I had to go look through some of the headlines on this thing, and it was insane. They were covering some wild stories in the 70s. And I think that only about 3 issues of Markin UFO zine exist, but they also published something called the Markin Fortean Field Investigators Procedures Manual.
Oh boy, that's another mouthful.
Another mouthful. All released in 1979. It's like this Willard McIntyre had this 1 year of just absolute focus. And another interesting thing I learned about Markin is that they were part of something called the Coalition of Concerned Ufologists.
Concerned.
Which consisted of 3 UFO groups at the time. Markin, UFOIN, UFOIN.
That's a weird name. I don't like it.
That's the UFO Information Network, UFOIN.
Makes sense.
And UFOIL, the UFO Investigators League. So this is like...
That's great. I like that one the best.
Yeah, this triad of UFO groups. And the only information I could find about this coalition of concerned ufologists was this. A write-up about him. It said, similar to today's trio, the UFO Research Coalition, the coalition of concerned ufologists was made up of the failing UFO groups at the time.
That's why they're concerned.
Yeah. I mean, they put it in their name that they're concerned, which sounds so kind of passive-aggressive because, the concern usually kind of denotes a minimal level of, I don't know, fear and alarmed.
Yeah.
But they had to create an entire coalition about it. So clearly they're very concerned. They should be the CVC, whatever the last letter was.
It feels like these guys, each one of these groups is only keeping half an eye on the UFO scene anyway. Like, we're concerned.
Well,
we're
they're not that
involved.
concerned.
If we all are maybe kind of half-assing this, we can form some kind of group.
The partially concerned coalition, I think.
Markin had to be leading the way, man. The articles of this thing were crazy. That zine is really interesting. They were definitely going after other groups. It's like people didn't have podcasts in 1979. I feel like
They didn't? That's a shame.
This was really early on. They did have shortwave radio. There was actually a Markin radio thing where you could live report your UFO reports over shortwave and stuff like that.
That's cool.
Neat. I like that. Yeah.
They had a whole map of how you did it and relay stations you could talk to that would get to them so Markin could break your news.
So that used to be, but not anymore? Like, if only there was something like that now, it'd be on fire, not literally.
Yeah, we used to be a UFO country, I guess, but now we just have the internet and Twitter.
Damn it. I'll trade it.
We have hashtag UFO Twitter.
Yeah.
I know, what a mess that is.
Yeah, the greatest, the most agreeable people in the world. Everyone gets along there.
Super fun time.
But when I found this coalition of concerned ufologists, it's led to a really strange coincidence. That UFO Investigators League, UFOIL, that is a UFO group founded by Timothy Green Beckley in the early 1970s. Now, Tim Beckley is writing and podcast partners with Tim R. Swartz, the guy that led me to this initially.
Oh, no way. So that's a big find. I didn't know that.
They had a show together called Exploring the Bazaar, but sadly, Timothy Beckley passed away less than a year ago on March 31st of last year.
Wait, so they're both named Tim?
Yeah, Tim and Tim.
But that's sad. That's unfortunate. Because I feel like that would have been really good. Like, so how far did they get before that happened?
I would have liked to ask him about this because this is an event that seemed, and he seemed pretty involved in it.
Yeah, that would be a huge get. That's some really frontline information that I think everybody would be really stoked to hear about. Now I'm super bummed out.
It would be because everyone else in this seems completely off the map forever, especially Williard. Williard himself, this was his big thing. But this story, though, the Laredo UFO crash, this is by far the biggest thing Williard and Markin were ever involved with. And I have a lot of respect for those early UFO journals because it seems like nothing was known about this case until sometime in the 70s when a series of letters from the original photographer at the crash were sent to this Williard McIntyre. And I have intercepted these communications.
Oh,
we are going to hear some of them right now. So this is from the photographer at the scene. He said, what that team observed in photographs was an unearthly shaped craft made up of earthly looking debris. The basic structure looks as if it could have been built by earthly hands. Things were badly burned by the time the photographer got to the site, but they noticed a complete absence of any kind of wiring, rubber, glass, plastics, wood, or paper products. And that is a lot of earthly things not to be included. It sounds like this thing is just all metal.
Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting that it kind of has this, I don't know what better word there'd be to use than the word organic, but it just kind of sounds like it wasn't so much like manufactured like factory style. It's like it was just kind of literally crafted, like they said, like by hand and everything. It's
right, like it looked like it's something you see in an amusement park or something. When you describe something like unearthly, but like, no, it looks like they actually made it. It would be weird if there was wood involved, though. I'd be like, well, that's a shitty looking UFO.
See, that's what I want to find though, so badly.
I mean, wouldn't it be bizarre if there was a crashed craft that was made out of like dirt and wood and
it's a terracotta
earthly
UFO.
Materials like clay, like that, I want to check out.
And it's well, the thing that's really funny about this too is they couldn't find any kind of like propulsion system, right? They couldn't figure out what was making it go. So who knows? Maybe maybe it's magic. Maybe there could be a clay ship out there somewhere. I want to see a janky wooden UFO.
Yeah, if they're
steampunk UFO,
but their UFOs can look like whatever they want. They can be that terracotta or clay, but they're just like a little bubble that just goes around. They can just be in anything. They can be floating in there if they want, but they want to change and use the bathroom and not be, just have a space peeking at them the whole time.
Yeah.
That would be really smart actually for like a UFO that didn't want to be noticed, because then when you crash land on Earth, and you leave your ship behind, if it just blends in with everything.
It's a house.
Yeah.
It's just like a tree.
Pretty smart if they do it on purpose like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I love
opens up so many possibilities.
It's a flying house.
Yeah, like Howl's Moving Castle.
Yeah, or like Spaceballs. They could have like a Winnebago or something. They would just
the Winnebago. Yeah, I thought you were going to talk about the space maid with her vacuum cleaner. Like that kind of ship.
Well, I don't think you could get away with that if you showed up with a giant. Yeah.
No, that would be awful. But the Winnebago, yeah, that's a great idea. That would really blend in, Yeah,
it'd be perfect.
I'm for it.
So back to these intercepted communications. Their source noticed that there were some supportive structures which were held together by what appeared to be not terracotta, but conventional bolts. But when the mechanics attempted to unscrew them with wrenches, they could not turn at all. They had to be eventually chiseled off, and the metal was very hard. The Army was using carbide and diamond drills and diamond saws for the final disassembly. So it's like this indestructible tin wiener, this craft, where you just cannot get in this thing.
I know. It's like, I don't know. I keep on thinking of Mel Brooks' movies, I guess. But the chastity belt in Robin Hood Men in Tights, where it's just like, you maybe just need to have a special like tool, a special type of equipment. But they had to like break it apart with diamond drills. But what if there was something like, I don't know, for example, something magnetic where it's like, oh, if you just press this button, they would have popped right off.
What if they just needed to ask it politely?
Yeah, right. To show it some compassion and it would just open right up.
Right.
We got to think about alternatives, guys. Yeah.
They do make it sound really violent how they get in this thing. Like diamond drills and doing all this stuff to get in here.
Blasting
didn't
away
it crash
with
already? I
jackhammers.
guess it's in one place. And I don't know, my brain's
So
going to go
heavy-handed.
crazy if I don't mention that Naked Gun 33 1/3 was on last night. And Leslie Nielsen has a chastity belt on in a shower scene, which I was like, yeah, I don't think you can do that anymore.
No, it would rust, but God bless those movies.
Yes, amen. Back to the ship in crash in Mexico. The structural skin of the craft was apparently blown away in the explosion when the device crashed, as the whole valley was littered with fragments of what appeared to be foil, very much like our cigarette packages, only much harder. You could not bend the material. Before anyone could leave the site, the MPs searched them and confiscated all fragments that had been collected. And that's the same stuff from Roswell. Remember, this is a year to the day after. Remember, people bringing those home as souvenirs, like Jesse Marcel and all them. That's all they talked about was that bendable foil.
Yeah, well, this is unbendable foil. This is like indestructible foil. So they should not have called it, they shouldn't have compared it to foil because it's
really not like foil.
It's not like foil at all. Exactly. You can't use it to preserve any food after a picnic. You can't use it to make a tinfoil hat. You can't use it for shit. It's that same unbreakable material. And I have to say, I doubt that they got every single little fragment out of that valley. You know, there have to have been some remnants still somewhere in the sand.
You'd think so. But it's been like 80 years too. I've kind of thought about that. Now, there's some more about the craft. There appeared to be 5 or 6 levels in the center of the craft, and there were some sort of instrumentation machinery that was removed before they had arrived. And McGill brought that up. No propulsion system or mechanism was apparent to the source. So by the time the photographers brought on, this whole UFO is up on blocks already. Like, however this guy got here, this thing's already been stripped, but somehow it's still fresh enough and smoldering. Like, the story is a bit confusing as far as this goes.
Yeah, it does seem it was told a little bit out of order, but I'm imagining the heat was still going to be pretty intense. When by the time the photographer arrived, I think they said it took him it was like a 4-hour flight or something. So it was fresh-ish. Still would be hot, I would think, because it's like blazing hot sun in the desert too. So it's kind of keeping it smoldering hot, but I don't know.
You got to get those parts out of there, man. You got to clean those things out.
Yeah. I mean, efficiently, they were all about it. I guess it was because it was, they seemed afraid. Their urgency was that it was going to be found out and talked about. I think that they did what they had to do. They went in, cleaned it up, got out.
And then sent this guy in here. Yeah, this contact guy is the photographer. So here's what he has to say. He says, now we're going to actually get to the man of the story here, the star man of the story. We're bringing up tomatoes. What is Tomato Man? So here is Tomato Man. There was only one body, and it was badly burned at that, still in the structure. The source photographed it in place in the structure as best he could with the intense heat from the still smoldering remains and the burning hot sand. After they had taken photos of the entire scene and attempted to use multiple flash guns and a tripod to record the overall scene from a nearby hillside, the Air Force Crash and Rescue firemen on the scene dragged the body from the craft and put it on a nearby bank so they could photograph it away from the intense heat. And an Army captain who assisted them said the little fellow we were photographing did not come from this earth. And this EBE that he is sent there to photograph, it seems like he's just there to photograph this guy. Like, they've got all the other stuff. He became known as the Tomato Man alien.
I know, and it sounds funny, but really it was kind of horrifying looking when you think about it. It
doesn't really look like a tomato.
Yeah, it's just basically, I guess, just the head kind of did because it was super round,
lumpy.
They should have called him lumpy.
To be a tomato too. It looks like there's a rough surface. It's circular, sure. It's a circular head, but the photo's also black and white. So
yeah.
Tomato conjures a big red head.
Yeah, and you would think that maybe this guy must have been red in color, but is that even the case? I don't think it was red.
Is there a colorized app? Has anyone ever colorized Tomato Man? Can we find out? But you're right. His head is big and round, but it looks bumpy like the way like a pizza cheese is kind of burned. Like it's got a little.
He did get crispy crittered. Yeah.
He's got a lot of little pocks. Like, he definitely got
ugly pumpkin.
He got crispy crittered in that thing for sure. Yeah, I was going to ask what you guys think of the photo, because they are hard to make out. But does this make the story more believable looking at those pictures? The fact that they are kind of shitty.
Yeah, actually, to me it does because you would think it's one of those things where you sometimes get people submitting evidence that's like too perfectly framed. It's like it doesn't even
Skinny
look
Bob.
like. Kind of like that, yeah. And you have say people when they think that they have like a ghost photo or whatever, and it's like, well, then why was the camera centered differently instead of centered on the people? Things like that. But this being kind of a shitty picture kind of, to me, hints to or points at the reality of the situation. Like, this is the best photo we could get. Like, it was crappy because it was like really super fucking hot, but this is it. If they really wanted to hoax it, they would made it look better, I would think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's all I've got.
No, you're right.
It's hard for me to distinguish what it is. It almost looks like an optical illusion.
Yeah.
Or like a visual, like a photographic Rorschach test. Like if you didn't tell someone this was a tomato man and they looked at the picture and you were like, what is this? I'm sure a variety of things could be found within the lines and shapes of that image.
Like the pareidolia kind of effect. Yeah, that's a good point too. Because there were two photos. There was one where it looked to me almost like a weird like Halloween costume for a child. It was strange. It just like it looked like a person propped up in a very uncomfortable costume.
Or like when you throw a costume, just like it's just a costume sitting on the ground with like a mask.
Yeah,
where it just looks very
crumpled and
flattened.
weird. But the other photo didn't look like anything. I was like, what am I supposed to be seeing here? What am I looking at? And that one was just crap. But again,
and that's supposed to be that's supposed to be when they're like, all right, enough of this crappy picture of this thing face down. Let's get this thing out in the woods. Let's get him out here in the desert. We'll get a nice clean shot of him here. And I don't know what's going on.
And it looks like shit. Yeah.
Put a funny hat on him.
Yeah, something.
Yeah, like those old pictures of Thunderbirds or the little cowboys or like just 20 of them behind them. Like take a cool like Vietnam looking shot with it, but they don't.
Well, see, and then we have to realize, too, this is just what we have been fortunate enough to see. We don't know what the rest of those photographs really looked like that we never got.
Yeah, we might have gotten in trouble like Space Abu Ghrabi.
Yeah, oh, exactly. Who knows what they were doing, putting lipstick on him. And
Skinny Bob's bro?
Jeez, yeah, that would be an atrocity. That
pointing
would
at his wiener? Oh.
I think that would destroy any chances of, peaceful relations going forth with wherever these guys come from. So maybe those should be kept away or destroyed or whatever, if that's what they did.
Oh, poor tomato guy. But so they only saw and photographed the one body, but rumors started floating around that the site had two or more creatures that had just been blown out of the vehicle and were captured and taken away, injured severely, but still alive.
Wow.
Yeah, but there's no confirmation on that aspect, but that does sound like the Ivan 035 videos. Aliens strewn around the desert and a crash ship. There might be some kind of luck because no one ever really dated when that crash was supposed to be.
True, yeah. I mean, but they actually got video. That's what's confusing to me about this is they flew in a photographer to get, I'm imagining for posterity's sake, for their records, whether they're going to go public with them or not. But the no video, they didn't get a videographer. That was just out of bounds for the U.S. This is the 70s.
1948. I mean, if they're filming stuff from Roswell, yeah, you'd think about the same time they could pull that off.
Yeah, because this was in the 70s, right?
No. The actual crash is 1948.
I'm getting my stories crossed.
But no, this is when he starts getting these letters. Because it's like, almost,
Gotcha.
30-something years later that this is finally coming out in any kind of form. And talking about the pareidolia, like I can't get to my mind. The pareidolia I get when I see the Tomato Man picture, I see a space helmet. Like my brain always wants to correct it almost to like the Moon Man, like the MTV Moon Man. Like someone killed Moon Man.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I just got it pulled up. It's so freakishly round that I think you're right. It's very like globular, It almost looks like what is it called? Like nautical
scuba diver.
Scuba diver, yeah.
That's close. Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking of like this weird, those really round, the ones that look like they have like a portal.
Yeah, with the mask.
Mask, and the weird cage on them and everything.
Well, I was going to say the ship reminds me of a submarine, the way they describe it, with these big giant bolts and rivets that they can't really get in.
Hey, that reminds me of, I think, when Rob was trying to sell us on the idea of a submarine up in the sky. It was like a Nazi submarine.
There is someone involved in the secret space program that does have flying submarines. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm like, well, then they're not submarines. But yeah, we had that whole argument.
Well, if they're landing in the desert, they might be space submarines. If they got Tomato Men in them.
I guess if they're below sea level, yeah.
So what, these are a race of aliens that look like spacemen and happen to be spacemen? They've got a round space helmet head? Because it doesn't look like a regular gray.
It's too strange. It's too strange. Yeah. I don't know. It's just such a weird... It was charred so badly that, like, who knows what it originally looked like,
Yeah, they have a little description here about it, about this photo. They say the body they photographed was 4 foot 6 inches long. Its head was extremely large for the body size by human proportions. The eyes were gone from the fire. Gross. But the eye sockets were much larger than a human's and were almost wrap around as if to give 180-degree vision. So he is kind of describing gray, but more different. Like, I've seen depictions of this. This case is covered on maybe one UFO show, I think. Alien Files Declassified does an episode on this, and their grays look ridiculous. They do try to show the 180-degree vision by just putting, they look like a chameleon almost. It looks strange.
Oh, that's a good thought, actually. Because, there's times people are trying to imagine what creatures would look like coming from a whole nother world and things like that. That what if there were aliens that did have that kind of chameleon type eyeballs and like eye sockets? I mean, chameleon eyes are super huge, so it's not outside of reason for that to be like viable in a life form, I think.
Maybe, to get that advanced, who knows? It just sounds so Star Wars. Like, just ran out of ideas. Yeah, but the description does sound very much like a gray. Besides that, it says there's no lips, and the mouth was just a sort of a slit, no teeth, no tongue. There were 2 legs of normal proportions with short feet and no discernible toes. They had their arms are actually longer than a human's, and the hands had 4 claw-like fingers, each with no apparent thumbs. Which makes you go, wow, how is this advanced race with no thumbs? The arms and legs appeared to have joints in approximately the same places in humans. And there were 2 army doctors that arrived on the morning of July 8th, and they made a superficial examination of the body. The source listened to them while taking photos of their work. There was no teeth or tongue in the mouth and no apparent duct connecting the mouth to any part of the digestive system. There was no reproductive organs visible by human standards.
That's what's interesting to me is there's a mouth that doesn't connect to anything. Like, why would it doesn't seem like
intriguing. I'm also intrigued by the lack of toes.
And a thumb.
That's what's intriguing to you.
How do you walk around? What does the foot look like?
Yeah, if they've got such long arms, like maybe they're just dragging themselves places, but they don't even have thumbs. What are they going to do without any thumbs?
It makes you think that they're like looking at the body of something that maybe is a very resilient body, but was burned to shit in the
really
ship.
Fucked up human.
And it's just, you're right. It could be that. And maybe the wiener burned off too, or wherever this thing had.
Yeah, we're looking at a very damaged specimen here, so there's not much we can take away.
They do find weird stuff. I found this part fascinating. The most remarkable thing he overheard was that no stratified muscle fiber was discovered in any of the extremities. The tissue, which was gray in color, was extremely smooth, and the doctors compared its consistency to the tissue of a female breast. It was one of our favorite objects. Yeah. A breast.
That's exactly what I thought.
Like, it's just such a funny comparison.
It's like, how would they know? They're scientists. They haven't touched one of them.
Man, that's why they call him Tomato Man. They're like, yeah, he feels like a breast, like a tomato.
Like a bag of sand.
It doesn't look soft either.
Yeah, that's what's confusing. It's like
it doesn't look soft at all.
Yeah, that texture looks horrible. And even though it's burnt, it's like they're still going to be touching the burnt tissue. And how does the burnt tissue feel like a human breast?
How does the whole thing? Okay, so they try to make up for that. Well, how it's a human? If you have a giant breast walking around, it's not going to work. This is how it works. They said that the bone structure in the extremities was more complicated than a human's, and they speculated that motion may have been accomplished through the supporting bones instead of the muscles. The entire abdomen was encased in a rib-like structure all the way to the hips. The doctors were amazed that the right arm extremity had a metallic joint at the elbow. It was like a cyborg, super strong-boned tomato alien.
I'm getting vibes of like insect type movement, because insects don't really have muscles. They're like hydraulics, like a spider, like it moves around and everything, but it's not through muscle. That's creepy.
And explaining maybe having the eyes, at the 180-degree angle and stuff like that.
Yeah. This thing is definitely, it combines too many different, like, of our earthly animal groups, because it's obviously, the fact that it's kind of like bipedal is not insect-like, but the way it supposedly moves and, like, the joints being all weird, and that they don't really have a mouth to the digestive system. Think like butterflies, they kind of eat through their feet. They taste through their feet, right? But they use just like that tiny little tube. And like plants, they're alive, but they don't eat. They just photosynthesize. So yeah, this definitely to me does have the makings of a very much not earthly thing.
Yeah, and it's hard to get away from thinking about the nautical thing too. And I'm thinking about the bell, actually, the diving bell.
The La
Campagna. There we go. So it worked there. The cyborg alien tomato. But this guy from Markin who started this, Williard, he's getting this information right after he publishes his first issue of that Markin journal that we were able to track down. And after exchanging 3 letters with that particular writer, this guy in Tennessee who's writing the letters, the photographer, a large letter arrived in mid-December, and it contained the 8x10 glossy of the tomato alien pic, those charred remains. And
extra for glossy.
And it's when he sent the picture to Williard, he sent a challenge to them to identify the contents of the photo. And Markin sends a reply guessing the remains, that it's a light airplane crash and the body of a pilot. So then they send him a 3-page reply in January of 79, and it details the full activities of the photographer, how he was flown to Mexico in 1948 as part of a team that he documented the crash of this thing. And the writer expressed concern for his own safety and insisted upon anonymity. So the only name that was ever tagged on this is Williard and Markin. And so Markin, they assure him that they'll be confidential about it, that they won't say who this is. And Markin actually is surprised that this is still classified after 30 years.
Yeah. Isn't there like some kind of statute of limitations on these classifieds when it has nothing to do with doxing a living human being?
See, I don't know. I think the government can keep things secret as long as they want. That would not be a question I would ask.
Freedom of
how is
Information
this still
Act, man.
secret? How do we not know about this?
Yeah. I want my FOIA here. We have a Freedom of Information Act for a reason. And now that, especially now in this year of our Lord 2022, that the government has admitted, like, yeah, there's stuff out there. Like, definitely this should be able to be freely dispensed.
Yeah, you would think. As freely as they like to joke around about Roswell so much. But this is
exactly.
It's 1979. So you got Markin, you got this coalition of these cool guy ufologists. So they decide they're going to put this evidence to the test. They get their Tomato Man photo, and they get microscopic tests of the prints, and there's no evidence of double exposures or lab trickery. To this day, I think the photos do stand up. And they were also able to obtain the negative from the photographer, and they sent that to Kodak, to the laboratories at Eastman Kodak, and they concluded that Tomato Man was a negative that had been processed at least 30 years previously. And they showed no evidence of deliberate hoaxing, and that's it. And the negative actually passed the test, and the dates line up to 1948 as far as when it was initially processed.
Well, shit. I mean, that's
quite
all
nifty.
I need. Yeah. Holy hell.
Markin was doing their work. I don't know why these guys were looked at the loser groups of the time. They seemed to be the only ones getting anything done. And in May of 1980, the same contact sent a second negative showing that other really shitty picture of the body laying in vegetation on a slope. Quote unquote, the let's get a good shot of this thing finally.
They needed to set up a whole like boudoir photo shoot.
They probably have all that because he took a lot of photos. We only get these 2. But now you've got 2 photos. There's 2 tomatoes. They both feel like breasts, and they're out there now. And new prints were made from the original negatives, and they were sent to something called Ground Saucer Watch in Phoenix, Arizona for further analysis with computers. 1979 computers, Willow, were used on this photo. There's a lot of great computer work done by the Ground Saucer Watch in Phoenix, Arizona. So between the story and now they've got these great dead tomato alien photos that just stand up, the coalition decides it's time to go public, and on the 22nd of August, 1980, these photos were released to the AP in 2 areas and to newspapers and broadcast stations. And man, according to Williard, the next few weeks were crazy. The media went nuts for this information. It was all out there.
I like to think that the pictures are actually just some guy that was just testing out his camera on random shit. Like, got a new camera, was taking random pictures.
Yeah.
One found the prints, made up a story.
He'd have a really shitty Instagram today. It's a bunch of blurry photos.
An Instagram that is found 40 years later. Like, I think this guy found out.
Ancient Instagram.
Oh, wait, heads up. Hold on. One of those coming in. Ooh.
The hell is that?
Wasn't that far from here.
Jesus.
Yeah, just stay focused. So now remember, this coalition, this ragtag group of ufologists, this is their big thing. You know, they finally have a case. They've got out there. But the other big groups, they are like shut out by this. You've got big groups like NICAP, MUFON, and these dudes, they can't stand it because this story is getting a lot of attention and all these big names are shut out from it. And this is a point that was made in the book UFO Crash at Aztec by William Steinman. Some people even call this case the Steinman Affair because he's so involved with it.
Whoa. I've listened to them.
That's a bit much.
Super cool band.
Does sound like an 80s Oscar winner, too. Steinman Affair.
Yeah.
It does, yeah.
So this is from his book. He said the usual team of debunkers were roused by the various agencies of counterintelligence and disinformation. No difficult thing to do given the strong egos that predominate in this field, and sent in to do battle. Taking their cue from counterinformation slyly fed them, the opposition took the form of condemnation, snubbing, outright lies, and the character assassination of all involved, including Williard.
Classic.
And 90 days after this hullabaloo still had not abated, the wrath of the UFO hierarchy intensified as various tabloids publicized the photos and stories. This old disinformation ploy has worked for 30 years and is still being used. So all of the big guns came out, even using tabloids. The same thing they did to the Zona del Silencio. That's how people know about the humanoids and the mutated fauna and flora.
Yeah, that's why you can't really fully discount the shit you find in tabloids, just like in that fabulous movie, Men in Black.
It does keep coming back to that, but a lot of ufologists make that point about things, that when they want to ridicule you, when they want to really bury a story, they do what? I mean, it's like a Doty kind of situation, right,
They
Willow?
discredit you.
Like you get into these guys. Like these groups seem, I don't know, very much, if it wasn't their own story that they had to go after it. And that feels like the government more pushing these groups into doing that than them, wanting to take some kind of interest. It's just strange in this story that it's so different from Roswell.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was treated much in the same way, where it was just covered up and everything, or at least they would just blatantly lie and say that, like, no, it was just a weather balloon. Like, there's nothing to see here.
The Tomato Man, though, that's the thing. Like, when you put a silly name on something, it makes it, like, immediately silly.
Yeah, it does.
It's that
And
branding.
they totally did that on purpose. They really did, because the sillier they make you sound, the less people are going to believe you.
There's a lot of cooler things. It almost deserves a better name, which I would love to come up with. But, maybe, I don't know, Aztec Moonhead. I don't know what to call him. He deserves something better.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like he's made out of Play-Doh or like some kind of clay that got burnt up and everything. So, I mean, Play-Doh Man would be worse than Tomato Man.
Play-Doh tomato.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. We were making it worse. It kind of looks like Mr. Bill passed out. That's an old reference, but...
I love Mr. Bill.
Yeah, poor Tomato Man. But now you got the Mirage Men deployed. You got mockery and tabloids. You got the name Tomato Man. All the theories looking to debunk the idea that these photos were of a deceased alien being with no eyes. And one theory was that the photographer was either mistaken about what he was looking at, or he was just straight out lied to. That maybe he was told this was a UFO when it's actually just some kind of military test object. And that's kind of a weird way to cover up something like a test flight, to say to always up the game of just it's your test flight to no, this is a space monster you're taking a picture of.
Yeah, I mean that's what's so silly about any of like the covering up at all, because it's gonna leak. People are going to find out about it. Like, you may as well just say we don't know what it is.
Just say they're Russians. You don't need to say this was a spaceman you're taking a picture.
Wasn't there even in that program about declassifying the files or unsealing the files? They said that they even tried to blame it on like the test lab, like space monkeys that they would send into space. They're like, oh no, it's just a monkey. There's no way in hell that's a monkey. Where did it get a round head like that?
That's one of the big theories, and that was done by that same group, that Ground Saucer Watch, or they call them the GSW. They did a measurement of the head and the jawbone, the arm length, and everything, and they did declare that they thought this was some kind of monkey launching a rocket. And again, the idea of monkeys being the cause isn't totally ridiculous in this case, because at that time, rhesus monkeys are used in V2 rocket testing around the same time. And it's not, the only way it could be a rhesus monkey if it was actually wearing a helmet. Like, but I don't think that's
because
what
it does
this
have
is.
the long arms and everything. But yeah, it just doesn't seem to be the right stature. Why would the hands be like the way they are? Why would it not have toes? Why would the mouth not connect to a digestive system? Like all the other things that were clearly not monkey-like about it.
This monkey doesn't feel like a breast. That wouldn't be how it works.
I never felt a monkey that felt like a boob.
Yeah, no, most monkeys don't, I would think.
It was only rhesus monkeys that were used in any kind of V2 testing at the time. It was done beforehand and after too. He kind of threw that in the face. Williard kind of defended himself like to this GSW group. And GSW's explanation was that, well, it could have been orangutans. But it doesn't make sense because, one, they never used them. But the proportions, if you think about it, the arms longer than, because, orangutan, they're about 4.5 feet. They've got about 7.5 foot arm span. It kind of is a bit alien.
But do they have mouths? Do they have lips and teeth? Yeah. Do they have gigantic eye sockets? Do they have round ass heads?
No, they don't. And they would have never fit into any of the, what they call the cone of the V2 rocket. They said that it would never fit, that the tiny space along with breathing apparatus, seat, gear, it would leave no room for instrumentation if you put an orangutan in there. Now, why they mention an orangutan needing instrumentation to fly it, I'm not sure. I thought that they were maybe controlling that.
I don't think they pilot it. Yeah, the monkey has been trained to press certain buttons and flip certain switches at a certain time, and
I really don't think that's how they were testing these rockets. I think they were just putting them in there. But yeah, I read that all the rhesus monkeys in the V2 testing, they all died.
All crispy crittered. Yeah.
Some of them died before even the launch happened, which made me think that they maybe need to take some kind of animal husbandry courses to keep these animals alive.
I would say so. I would hope so. I mean, it's really atrocious that they were doing that to begin with, It just makes me pretty sad.
Yeah, and there's another problem with that theory, too, that the monkey rocket theory is that these V2 rockets, that they only had even a theoretical range of about 225 miles. And that the one of the furthest ones that Wernher von Braun ever launched in the U.S. went about 111 miles. And both that distances, that is way shorter than the 1,000 miles that this thing would have had to travel from White Sands to land where it did.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not a rocket with a monkey in it.
Yeah, and especially because the shape and everything of it's experimental. We're going to suddenly do discs and saucers instead of the tried and true kind of shapes and modules that we've already been working with. It's too different. It's just such a far cry that I hope nobody actually believed that story.
A lot of stuff comes back to that White Sands place. Everyone claims if it did launch, it had to be from there. And this could have been the start of what would be a lot of strange objects that crashed here in the Zona del Silencio. There was that famous missile in 1970 that was launched in Utah, but it was supposed to land in White Sands. It ends up here. It's like maybe this object wasn't launched from White Sands. Maybe it was just supposed to land here, and somehow it did make it very close to the Zona, whatever this thing is. I do feel like things are getting drawn into this.
That's crazy. I didn't really put that together. So yeah, maybe it didn't crash land necessarily like it was supposed to keep flying. It was probably trying to land and something went wrong in the landing process. I don't know. That's interesting. What would they have done if they landed, safely?
Yeah. What was the goal?
Salsa. He's Tomato Man. That's what he's all about.
Salsa.
Other ingredients. I mean, if you do think of aliens,
tomatoes
if what they are actually looking for, I got to get away from the tomato thing. I'm trying to unbrand him as Tomato Man. Now I'm making him looking for salsa ingredients in the desert in Laredo or whatever. Okay. So this is the great one, the Mexican Roswell, but it's not even the only Mexican Roswell. There's also something called the Del Rio Texas UFO crash of 1955 and the Coyame UFO incident of 1974, both of which happened around the same area, Texas-Mexico border. And this might need some future research, especially that Coyame one, because it isn't a city in Chihuahua, which Chihuahua is a part of the Zona del Silencio. So it's technically a crash in
our
here.
Jurisdiction. And I do find that really interesting, too, that I think that's what I was getting it confused with when I was thinking of the 70s one. But just that this area, it's just it seems to be very much a hot spot. And why? Is it because it's less inhabited, more or less? But I mean, it's so inhospitable to crash in. It's just why? Why this area?
It is weird that there are these areas that do this, and the fact that these are almost become the Roswell events of it in an area very close to here. It is really fascinating. Actually, there's another one. Hold on, I can see this one coming in. Willow, move your clouds.
Oh shit! Fuck!
Oh my!
Did I just lose a clown? Oh my god!
At least one. I can't really tell from. Oh my!
That's gonna be at least $5 to replace.
Yeah, the carriage isn't looking too good either. So it does look like you're stuck with us for a little bit. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's okay. I like it here.
God good. Damn. I'm glad you do. And I'm going to ask you now, Willow, what are your final thoughts on this Mexican Roswell and Tomato Man? You a believer?
I am a skeptical believer.
cautiously
Cautiously
believing.
open to believing.
Good.
That's not a bad stance to be in.
Not at all. What about you, Agent Mora?
I'm leaning pretty heavy into believing it. There's so many angles that it's been checked at for, checking out if it's a hoax or not. And a lot of those negatives were deemed, viable. The fact that it was covered up in the first place shows some kind of, I don't know, that to me, that's a reason to believe in something if they're trying to cover it up so much. And that the guy coming forward anonymously with this information is still trying very hard to maintain his anonymity because obviously he's afraid of some kind of repercussions. So to me, that's very telling. I will say like 90% I believe this.
Yeah, I got to say my thoughts on this are mixed, but I am leaning towards it being an actual event, that the immediacy and the disinformation campaign and the success to which this story was buried, like those clowns are about to be in the desert.
Don't remind me.
I hope
Please
so.
don't remind me.
So should we not have an actual burial for them?
The way the story was buried, this tells me that this is an event that the government just wanted to go away. Unlike Roswell, the American Roswell, which will never go away. And it could have. Roswell could have gone away. If the powers that be truly wanted it to, they control enough. The only reason we know about it is because of cable television constantly telling us this in books for years. And I don't believe that they want that story to go away. But this crash and the Tomato Man, they made this go away. And it is just another piece of this mysterious tapestry and trappistry, because I'm kind of a bit of a trapper out here myself. We call the Zona del Silencio. I'm going to say thank you for our help with this one, Truman.
Yes, Agent Trumi.
I'm sorry your clown carriage is gone, but you handled yourself well out here.
You know what? One of the clowns is pregnant, so I'm going to have a new one any moment.
Oh, yeah, I hope that
So
one's
it's okay.
still
It's the
alive.
cycle of life.
Shit happens.
Beautiful. Stick around. Maybe
Beautiful
you'll see
things
it.
are happening here, miracles. And look, if you were up for it, I could use your help with an experimental project I'm working on. And Willow, you would be the perfect candidate. We just need to perform a very simple ritual in a controlled
All right, I'm
environment.
ready.
It's going to result in you gaining some very extraordinary powers. I'm talking the ability to fly, shapeshift. And I know you're a music fan. You're going to be an incredible whistler. And you also sound like a baby sometimes. So what do you say?
I'm saying fuck yeah.
Great. I think we're getting out of here. I'm getting a signal. Thank you so much. Mora and we're going to escort you back. You ready to get out of here, Mora?
Yeah, let's get some smoothies. I want to try that Zona berry.
Yeah, I'll buy you a Zona berry. We'll talk about it soon, okay?
Ooh.
All right.
Zona berry.
You're getting close. Until next time.
Zona del Silencio is underwritten by ZDS Inc., ZDS R&D, and the Zona del Silencio Media Outreach Department. If you have a case that requires research, we can be contacted through Zona del Silencio Podcast at gmail.com, at Zona del Podcast on Twitter, and Zona del Silencio on Instagram. ZDS. Research, observe, disseminate.
God knows every story needs a star. I'm the modern queen. You're the president. God knows every story needs an end. Whip at your genius if you love it so much. Whip it and let's have a touch. Touch. you love it so much. Without your genius, without your genius. Without your genius, if you love it so much. Without your genius, without